Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Mike Barletta back with another tropical update on our two systems that are attempting to form. Now before we do get into the video, if you guys could make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to check the description down below for links to my Facebook and my Twitter. There you'll find a lot more frequent updates every day. Just as news on weather develops, so make sure to go check those out. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So we're looking at two waves right now, one with a 60% chance of development and one with a 90% chance of development over the next few days. This wave right here, further west, dubbed 97L, and this one to the right, 98L. So it's going to be important to remember the differences from those two. But regardless, both have, this one has a medium chance of development, this one has a high chance of development. Doesn't mean develop into a hurricane, major hurricane, just means developing into a tropical depression over the next 5 days. This one has a 60% chance, this one has a 90% chance. So, as you could see, both of them moving, in a west-northwesterly fashion. Towards some land masses, so that's why we're really keeping an eye on these. So let's get into how the basin as a whole looks. Now this map might look a little confusing, but let me point some things out for you. This is the Gulf Coast, there's New Orleans, Florida, this is the United States right here, this is Cuba, Dominican Republic, here's the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico and South America, just to make it a little easier for you guys to see. Now, the two waves we're watching, one of them's right here. 97L is right there, and 98L is all the way back here. So, first wave we're going to look at is 97L. This is a map of wind shear. So that green means favorable for development, red means unfavorable, yellow is right in the middle. So, taking a look at 97L, currently smashed in between this favorable and unfavorable for development. And what's happening right now is this storm is moving incredibly fast through this region, so it's not really able to get its act together. We expect this wind shear to lessen up a little bit as it continues to move to the west-northwest, but as of right now, this is really the big reason why this is not developing right now. This wind shear to the north of the system, really pushing the system quickly to the west. So it's struggling to develop because it's moving so fast right now. Taking a look now at 98L, currently in a good pocket right here of low wind shear. We expect wind shear to stay low to moderate right now for this system as it moves to the northwest, but there's two distinct levels of convection, which is why it's making it hard to develop, but we'll get into that in just a minute. But just a look at the environments that these are going into, not a whole lot of shear, but not a little bit either. This one might struggle with shear as it moves to the west, but we'll be keeping an eye on that. Now taking a look at the dry air, not a whole lot of dry air in looking at 97L right now, further to the west. Not a whole lot of dry air. Like I said before, the reason it's struggling to develop is simply because it's moving so fast. So once it gets towards 80 west, in my opinion, maybe even once it gets past 70 west, but once it gets past 80 west south of Cuba, I think in and around this region we're going to have a better chance of development, but we'll get into the specifics later in the video. We're just going over basin-wide stuff right now. So, and same thing with 98L, as you could see right here, really big area of convection. This was the impressive wave we were looking at coming off Africa that I talked about on my Twitter. And some dry air to the north, but nothing really seeping in right now. So we're going to take a little closer look at 97L, and not too bad of a look. It's definitely bubbling some convection over the past hours, but not crazy. You could see this is moving really quickly to the west. No real defined low-level center yet either. There's no real spin to it there. So once this storm slows down, it should have a little bit better chance of developing, and that's what we're going to look at right now in the models. But regardless, the storm is looking not too bad. So taking a look at the models, currently 97L is placed right here. Don't pay attention to this. We'll get into that later. 97L placed right there. You can see the models don't really develop it until, like I said, this is the 80 West line. 80 West is right about here. Models really start to develop a little bit more of a spin and a low-level center once it gets towards the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, this is definitely not something you want to see, especially if it takes a more northerly track on this side of the ensemble members. We're looking at the European ensemble. Sorry, I didn't point that out. So it's just a collection of 51 models giving you 51 different solutions, and it's supposed to give a range of uncertainties to any particular storm or scenario. So especially if we track on this northern end, but you could see um, they don't all develop in the same region. You know, some of them develop in a little further south, some a little further north. But regardless, you don't want to see any type of low pressure going into the Gulf of Mexico during late August. The waters in here are really, really warm, 30, 31 degrees Celsius, which is approaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Um, Really don't want to see that, especially as I stated before, if we take a more northerly track, gets a little more time over water, that's something you don't want to see. But as of right now, no immediate threat. The storm isn't even developed yet, and in my opinion, not expected to develop until we get closer to 80 west, if it develops at all. Some of these members keep it really weak and don't really develop it, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. But just something to look at over the next few days. Now taking a look at 98L, this one is looking a little more impressive, but we're having two big areas of convection that are competing for the development of the low-level center. Now, right now, the area to the right is a little better organized. A recent ASCAT pass, which is just a satellite pass looking at the wind at the surface, showed that this blob over here of convection, really cold convection, negative 70, negative 80 degree cloud tops, has a little bit stronger wind, 5 to 10 knot stronger wind. So if this is able to take over at some point today, I believe we will see a tropical depression, but we're going to need this to really die out first. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on, not something you really see every day. Two distinct vortmaxes right now. And we're going to have to see which one becomes dominant. As of right now, I'm believing the one to the east, and most of the models believe the one to the east is going to become dominant and allow for a more northerly track as compared to one like that. But really just something we're going to have to keep an eye on and see, something that'll develop throughout the day today and into tomorrow. Now taking a look at those same European ensembles, as I stated before, this was for the 97L. Now we're looking at 98L. You see the members are a little more confined and organized than compared to 97L, where there wasn't a lot of them. Now there are a lot of them. Most of them develop it around this region, so this is about 24 to 48 hours out from now. To become a tropical storm, these blue and greens are tropical storm force. And you could see the models are in rather good agreement that this is going to be tracking to the northwest, and it's going to go just to the north of the Leeward Islands. So somewhere, there's no cone for this yet, but the cone likely would look something like this, if there was one. So definitely an interesting look. Right now, the models, they were strengthening it a lot more yesterday to where we were thinking, oh, maybe we'd have a hurricane by this point. But as due to the aforementioned circumstances, like the dry air and the wind shear out there, the models are very slow with developing this one. But regardless, never a track you want to see something like this where you're getting close to Cuba and the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, and then eventually Florida, the United States. Not something you want to see, even as a weak storm, as the waters out here are really, really warm, just like the Gulf of Mexico. Something could spin up rather fast if wind shear and dry air allow for it. So the models are in pretty good agreement up until this point, but that's when they begin to diverge, as we're going to see in a second. Once we get north of the Dominican Republic, that's where the models start to diverge. Does the storm stay weak? Does it go up the coast? Does it go into Cuba? Does it go into the Gulf of Mexico? So you saw before that cone was pretty thin right here. Pretty thin cone, but then as we move further out, you see this cone really widens to the point where the models are basically useless. We know that there is a threat for a lot of these areas, but it's just something to be on alert for. There is no immediate threat, and if anyone tells you that they know exactly what's coming, they're lying. It's all hype. We don't know exactly what's coming. So I know seeing yourself in the cone may be a bit concerning, but the models are all over the place. For from what we know, the storm could fish out and curve out to sea as a weak storm. You see a lot of these members keep it rather weak. It could go into Cuba and die out. It could go into Florida. There's a whole wide range of possibilities. So just something to keep an eye on. No immediate threat. No threat really within the next at least 5 days. But it's just something I want to let you guys know about. Keep an eye on. So that's all I got today for today's video. If you guys haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. If you enjoyed the content and would like to see more of it, drop a comment down below on what exactly you think is going to happen with both of these two systems. Do you think one of them will develop into the first major hurricane of the year? You guys have an awesome one. Be sure to go in the description to follow my Twitter and Facebook. Have a good one. Stay safe, and I'll be back soon with some more content.